Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamatsyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhasha Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. So we are on the topic of Viveka, of course, discrimination, and Bhagwan Shankaracharya has started the discrimination taking into consideration the individual koshas. So we went through the Annamaya kosha and he explained to us what it was and why I cannot be that. And then also the Pranamaya kosha, what the Pranamaya kosha is and why we cannot be the Pranamaya kosha. And now we are on the Manomaya kosha. And he has also, he's giving us the reasons they're going on. And last week, we were on this verse where verse 170, where he says that the waking state is no different. In the dream state, even though there is no contact with the outside world, the mind alone projects the entire dream universe of enjoyer, etc. Similarly, the waking state is no different. All this world of pluralistic phenomena is but a projection of the mind. So we had done a comparison of the dream state and the waking state. And there were some questions at the end. And so I would like to sort of do some more thinking on this topic because it is extremely important. Basically, the bottom line is that it's not me. It's not even Bhagwan Shankaracharya, but it is actually Shruti, the Vedas, Mandukya Upanishad, say that this Mandukya Upanishad actually says that what we are going through this waking state, it is a Dirgha Swapna. That is what it is called in the Upanishad, which is coming directly from the Vedas. So he says this is Dirgha is long. This is a long dream, Shruti says, and each and every one of us is dreaming. And that is why this whole waking world, which is nothing but a dream, feels real. Okay. So point number one is that it has come from Shruti. Now, I may not understand it, and that is okay. That is okay. I may not understand it, but if I don't even have faith in these words, because they're from Shruti, then there is a slight problem. And That is what I want to sort of go into. So the basic thing is that we have to have faith in Shruti, because there is no other means of knowledge greater than Shruti. And when I say Shruti, I mean the Vedas. And when I say Vedas, I mean the Upanishads. So there is no greater means of knowledge than the Vedas, than the Upanishads. And if the Upanishads are saying that this waking world is a dream, then yes, it is a dream. That is at the level of the faith. Now, intellectually, I don't understand it. So I need to try and understand it intellectually. And that is because Shruti is not going to change. Because just because I say that in this waking world, I do everything so correctly and everything is in perfect order and everything is this and that's what I am saying. It doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it true. What is true is what Shruti has said. So we need to modify our understanding to understand why Shruti is saying that. And that is what we are going to do today. It's extremely important. So let us, first of all, I would like to also quote Raman Maharshi. I've shown this book in the Saturday class, The Teachings of Sri Raman Maharshi by David Godman. Okay, so this is from the book. I'm reading straight from this book. And what does Raman Maharshi say about the waking world? I've given you Shruti, I've given you Mandukya Upanishad. You can go check it out. You want to read it, go read it. This is Raman Maharshi. It's in a form of question answers. Does a jnani have dreams? Is the question. And the answer is, this is given by none other than Bhagavan. So if you don't have faith in Bhagavan Raman Maharshi, then there's trouble. And everybody knows who's Bhagavan Raman Maharshi, the great realized master. Okay, all right. Yes, he does dream. Does a jnani have dreams is the question. Yes, he does dream, but he knows it to be a dream in the same way as he knows the waking state to be a dream. Please listen carefully. Please listen carefully, except those who had doubts, especially those who had doubts. Okay, so yes, he does dream, but he knows it to be a dream in the same way as he knows the waking state to be a dream. You may call them dream number 1 and dream number 2. The jnani, being established in the 4th state, Turiya, the supreme reality, he detachedly witnesses the 3 other states, waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep, as pictures superimposed on it. This is Bhagavan Raman Maharshi. I'm quoting from his works. So this is a matter of faith. But you know what? Say we don't have faith. I'm a very intellectual person. So intellectually, I don't understand that the waking state is also a dream. So let us do our comparison again, once again. I compared the dream state to a movie theater, if you remember. And I told you that in a movie theater, there is a dark room. The theater is very dark. There is a screen. There is a projector behind us. There is a reel. And there is a light on top of the projector. So these are the necessary things for a movie to be seen. And whatever you will see on that screen is coming only from the reel. It cannot, if it is not in the reel, you cannot see it on the screen. Okay, all right. And the light has to be there on top of the projector. Though the theater has to be extremely dark, that light has to be there. Agreed? You cannot switch that light off. So this is the theater. This is the movie experience. Let's go to the dream. The dark theater is the mind. Is the deep sleep. I'm sorry. The deep sleep is the dark theater. It's a dark, deep sleep. In that deep sleep, I am seeing a dream. So there is a screen. There has to be a screen. What is the screen? It is the mind. Where am I seeing the dream? Am I seeing it on the wall of my bedroom, or am I seeing it within me? Okay. I'm seeing it within myself. So the mind is the screen. Now, I am seeing pictures, which I told you in a movie theater, unless it is in the reel, you cannot see. Same way, unless those things are in your vasanas, And you have collected the vasanas from births and births, okay? It's not just yesterday that I saw a circus and then I see a flying elephant. No, I have collected vasanas over many, many births. So any of those vasanas could fructify in a dream, and that will appear. So whatever appears in your dream, know it to be in the vasanas. It cannot come. The dream cannot come if it is not in the vasanas. It has to be somewhere. It cannot just come from nowhere. Who is the projector there? Who is projecting? Who is there in the dream other than you? It's your mind, which is projecting. The mind is projecting what is in the vasanas on its own screen, on itself. Mind is projecting on itself. Now, there is a light on top of the projector. That light is the light of reflected consciousness. That is the light of consciousness. Why? Because when you wake up, like, you are alive in the dream, aren't you? You're not dead. So consciousness is there. That light of consciousness is there. That is the light which is telling you after you wake up that you had a good or bad dream. You had a dream or you didn't have a dream. You had a deep sleep, good deep sleep, or not a good deep sleep. That is what is giving you the memory. So consciousness is there in the form of the light. All right. Is this part clear? Now let's come to the waking state. So in the waking state also, because Shruti is calling it a dream, then whatever is functional in dream should be functioning in the waking state. Point is clear? Because there is no difference between dream and waking. This is what Shruti is saying. So I'm trying to understand it intellectually. So whatever was in the movie theater was in the dream, you agree? Dark theater, screen, projection, the reel, the light, right? So all that was in dream. Now all that has to be in waking, right? Otherwise, how can you say that dream and waking is same? It's not faith. This is intelligence. Okay, this is knowledge. Now let's see. So in the waking world, I see the world. Okay. Where do I see it? I think I see it outside. Okay, but anyway, I see the world. So because a dream is seen, a movie is seen, the world is also seen. That is common. Is the light of consciousness there? Of course it is there. I am alive. So light of consciousness is there. Okay. Now, what is missing? Unmute yourselves. And please, whoever can switch on their videos, I would like to see all of them. That this is important. Is there a dark theater in the waking state? So how many of you say yes? There is. Tanu, Leela Sharma, Dinesh, and then there is a phone number. So 1, 2 say that there is a dark theater. Raj is also saying there is a dark theater in the waking state. Okay, so all others are saying that there is not a dark theater in the waking state, right? Because there are only 2 choices, yes or no. There's no middle choice. So there is 3 people. And Tanu, what are you saying? I would like to see what you're saying.
I don't think there's a dark theater. I mean, for example,
switch your video on, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. No, so, don't tell me what you think. Just give me a yes and no answer. Yes or no answer.
No.
No, there is no dark theater in this. Okay, fine. So if there is no dark theater in the waking state, then the waking and the dream cannot be the same. Correct?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Correct. So Vedanta, I've always told you, is not a democracy. It is not that majority say that it is not there, so it is not there. Even if one person says that it is there, it is there. So there is a dark theater in the waking state. Now 3 people have said yes. So Raj, you go first. I want to know what is the dark theater in the waking state.
Our ignorance, and we superimpose on everything.
Of course. Nitya, what was your answer? Don't copy her answer. Whatever was your answer.
Unfortunately, I have to, because that's what I was thinking, that ignorance is
Very good. Excellent. Narayanji, you have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
It's total ignorance that we believe, constantly we believe that waking is the real. In fact, I answered a question only yesterday in some, some book that I was reading, and there was this question was posed. Is there a waking, there was the question was different, that this is unreal, what we think is real.
Okay. So the correct answer is there is a dark theater in the waking state. Otherwise, Ravan Maharshi would not have said that it is dream number 1 and dream number 2. Okay. And the dark theater, there's not a physical dark theater, because we think I am so intelligent and I know and I planned my day and I did this. The ignorance is that I don't know who that I is. That is the ignorance. That I planned my day. I worked hard and this happened because I planned it and I did it. The ignorance is in not knowing who that I is. That is the ignorance. That is the dark theater. And that ignorance, the ignorance is that what is the real knowledge? Is I am the supreme self, which is beyond doership and enjoyership. But I don't know that. I'm ignorant of that fact. And I think that the small I, in Gurudev's words, the ego, the reflection is real. And the reflection is doing everything. And that's why there is a dark theater. There is ignorance in the waking state. And that is why it is a dream. Intellectually understand this, because this is true. This is, there is, Mandukya cannot be wrong. It's not Bhagwan Shankaracharya, okay, forget me, so don't even bother with me. Shankaracharya, if you want to forget. Raman Maharshi is saying that, Mandukya is saying that. It can't be wrong.
Jayaji, it's not a question of them being wrong. It's a question of me trying to understand.
That's what I'm telling you.
I mean, it's not a comparison that the Mandukya is wrong and I'm right. No, not at all. So please don't get that impression. That is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying, one very, very simple example. I mowed the lawn today. Is that incorrect? Is that my ego that is saying that I mowed the lawn? You know, what is it? It's a physical thing.
Yes.
The grass got cut.
Correct.
I mowed the lawn.
Correct.
Now, can I say it did not happen?
No. You tell me who is the I who mowed the lawn. I want to know that.
So the I who mowed the lawn was this body who pushed the lawn mower and mowed the lawn.
Did it?
Yeah.
The body is inert.
The body is inert, but it functions, doesn't it? An
Why
inert
does it
thing,
function?
like a piece of wood, will not function.
Right.
Body is enlivened by prana, hence it moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Enlivened by who? Prana is enlivened by who?
So ultimately, yes, I completely understand. Prana is enlivened ultimately by the supreme consciousness, but I don't understand that. I'm not trying to argue with you at all.
No. Listen, pranas is enlivened by whom? You've missed a step there. That is the ignorance. Who can tell me who is enlivening the pranas?
Consciousness.
The supreme I is enlivening. I said that.
No, I said no. That's why I'm asking. What is the correct answer? That is an incorrect answer. You have to understand this correctly. Who can tell me who is enlivening the pranas? Yes, Raj.
Yeah, when we say mere pran nikal chale, so main and mera, they are two different things.
Correct. Right. That's fine. That is a different matter. Who is enlivening the pranas? The wrong answer is supreme consciousness. So there has to be a correct answer. Who can tell me the correct answer?
Ishvara.
Nitya, what is the correct answer?
Consciousness.
Sorry, repeat that, Jayaji.
Tanu is saying, she said first, body pushed the lawnmower. I said, body is inert. She said, body is enlivened by pranas. I said, pranas also is inert. We studied that.
Correct.
Pranas is enlivened, she said. I said, who enlivened the pranas? She said, the supreme consciousness. I said, that is also wrong. So who enlivened the pranas?
Prana is the energy, you know.
Yes.
It
No,
runs.
no. Prana is inert. Prana is not the energy. Where is the
Brahman,
energy coming
Brahman.
from?
The reflection.
The reflected
said
consciousness.
Reflection. I said.
Exactly. That is to be understood. The entity that is enlivening the pranas and then the body is the reflection of consciousness which is happening in the subtle body. Without that reflection, nothing can function. And that reflection is the one that says, I mowed the lawn, I cut the grass, I did this. That's why I'm asking you, who is that I? Does that I have any reality? Does a reflection have reality? You're standing in front of the mirror. The reflection in the mirror, does it have any reality?
No.
No.
Why? Who said no? Tell me why. Now, just intellectual now.
Because it is not there when you move. It's not permanent.
Not, it's a dependent.
It's a dependent thing. Yeah. It
It
depends
is
on
dependent.
me.
What is the definition of real as per, we are talking Vedanta, we're not talking this thing. The definition of real as per Vedanta is that which does not change in the three periods of time. The reflection is dependent on the mirror, it is dependent on me. I can move, the reflection will vanish. The mirror can move, the reflection will vanish. The reflection has no real entity. Now you're saying, I mowed the lawn and mowing the lawn is real. Array, the one who did it is only not real. So whatever he utters, whatever that small eye utters, whatever that small eye does, whatever the small eye enjoys, how can it be real? How can it be real? That is the ignorant theater. That is the ignorance. That is the arrogance. That is the ego. That is the small I as per Gurudev. And that itself is false. That needs to be understood and we have to get established in that. And so from the standpoint of the supreme reality, this whole thing is a dream. The waking world is, I project it. And that's why the next verse, Sushupti Kale, this world which you think is real, where is it in deep sleep? Where is it in deep sleep? Tell me, is it there? It disappears. Real is that which never ever disappears. Waking world disappears. It disappears in dream. It disappears in forget dream and deep sleep. You're walking and your mind is somewhere else. Somebody else comes in front of you, says, you're like, oh, you were walking on the street. I was, you were there, you saw me. My neighbor said to me, Jaya, you were walking that day in the morning and it seemed like you were talking to yourself. I didn't even see him. Why? He didn't even exist for me. Why? My mind was not there. So without the mind, this world is not there. Without the mind, the dream is not there. That's why when mind completely folds in deep sleep, there is no dream. And there is no waking world either. But when the mind is functioning, there is a dream and there is a waking world. And the dream and the waking world are one and the same. You have to think, we have to adjust our thing. That's why I went back to it, because I was thinking about it. It's not a question of argument or anything. But so at one level, either you have firm faith that, okay, I don't understand this intellectually. I think that I mowed the lawn. I don't understand this. What do you mean? That was a dream? My God, I sweated so much. And then I had to take a shower, or I had allergies. And do you think that's unreal? Yes, because the one who had the allergy itself is unreal. This is the highest standpoint. This is the highest standpoint. So you have to begin with faith. Begin with faith. So when Bhagavan Shankaracharya has said it, there cannot be two ways. That's why I'm quoting Mandukya. I'm not saying that you're saying Mandukya. because the understanding is not correct. That is what I want to get at. The one who says, I speak, I is false. So the speaking also, how can it be true? How can it be true? It can't. It can never be. Please, under dream state is the most important state among the three in Vedanta. In Vedanta, we have to understand that this thing is, understand if it was really, okay, another standpoint I'll give you. Yes, Vinitya.
My son, who was listening behind me, wanted to take your example a little bit further. And he was saying that the minute the light is turned on in the dark theater, the movie disappears.
Yes.
So
very good. Excellent. So when the light comes that I am that supreme state, supreme self, and not the thing, the world will disappear. The world will disappear. That's why it's, when you wake up, okay, another thing is, dream while you're dreaming is extremely real, isn't it? Isn't it? When you're afraid, if the tiger is chasing you, you're afraid, you will actually feel that fear in your chest. It's extremely, only when you wake up, you come to know that the dream was an illusion. Only when you wake up. That's why this waking is a dream right now. Only when you wake up, like Prem Sai says, only when the light is turned on. And what is meant by light is turned on is I get the ha, that moment. And then there is a song also in the Upanishads which goes ha hu ha hu. When I come to realize, there is actually even the Upanishad even also gives a song. So like Swami Tejomanji said, I have by-hearted the song because suddenly if I realize I better know that song to sing. अब सॉन्ग तो मुझे पक्का आता है, अब मैं वेट कर रहा हूँ कि कब वो लाइट आ जाएगा. So when that realization will come, the world will immediately disappear, like it disappeared for Raman Maharshi, for Gurudev, for Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, all the realized masters, not physically disappear, but they come to know that this is a dream. And that is the strength that Raman Maharshi had when he told his mom, God looks after all of us. Where is the question of me looking after you? She emotionally blackmailed him. She said, you're my son. You should be looking after me. He said, dream. It's like somebody asking me, oh, you know that dream 1 million. So are you going to buy an ashram with that? And what am I going to say? I'm just going to laugh. So we have to wake up to the fourth state to come to actually realize. But right now, understand that the other point is, if this was real as per Vedanta, what is real can never disappear, but it has disappeared for the realized masters. What is false only disappears. What is real never disappears. You know what never disappears? Me, I. That supreme self within me never disappears. Have you ever experienced your own absence? You can say nothing exists. I can say all of you are fake. You don't. Can I deny my own existence? Can I ever deny my own existence? That's why they say the one who says there is no God, he's saying I am not existing. Are you existing? It is because of God that you can say there is no God, because God is that existence principle. But I have not realized it. I have considered the reflection to be real. I have considered the reflection to be me. And that's why I go on saying, I do this, I do that. And that's what Sukha Dukkhe Same Kritva Labha Labho. That is the first step, that equanimity in mind has to be developed to come to this knowledge. This is intellection.
Can I ask you something, Jayaji?
Yeah.
What about the light? Some people or some great poets say they got vision of light. And then they just change whole thing. Or even some people get idea and then they stick to that and they get some kind of power that itself seems there's some light of consciousness stronger, and they believe in that and they move onwards facing all the oppositions, and staying on that path. So they are same in a way, except that in one, the goal is spiritual in other sense, like we believe in God, and whereas in other one, it's the idea that itself seems God.
The idea that itself is
Yeah,
God?
suppose you have some idea, strong idea. Let's talk about liberty. When it was started, that liberty is something, it's for everybody and all that. So in that case, this is a strong idea, and that power comes, and that power itself is a lightning.
Yeah. All the power is coming ultimately from the supreme consciousness. Where is the reflection coming from?
Yeah, it's from supreme.
So everything, and then the reflection is doing things based on that power without realizing that I am dependent on that power. That is missing. That is the ignorant theater. That I cannot, even a blade of grass even cannot move without the sanction of the Lord. Keno Upanishad. Think, a minute, minuscule blade of grass also is being controlled by that Sarva Shaktiman Ishvara. What are you? What are you? What are we? What am I? Nothing. Ego. And you need to crush this ego. The more you crush the ego, more these ideas will become clear. And the way you crush the ego is purify the mind. Constantly purify the mind. Constantly. Okay?
One thing is not clear is that I understand what you are saying, but does it mean when there are so many wrong things going on in the world that nothing will happen without the supreme will or supreme consciousness?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
should I be just laying down, just believing superpower will come and do its job?
Yes. Pray. COVID cannot happen without the sanction of the Lord. COVID will go with the sanction of the Lord. So what do? You pray. You pray. That is Upanishad has clearly said it. Clearly, very, very clear. Nothing can move. If I'm speaking, it is because of the grace of the Lord. If you're listening, it is because of the grace of the Lord. If you're even saying that, no, I don't understand this, it is the grace of the Lord. Recognize it. Recognize it. And become humble. Become humble. Okay? And thank you for raising that, because if you wouldn't have, I wouldn't have done so much thinking. If you would have accepted it and gone forward on the basis of faith that, Bhagavan Shankaracharya is saying it. And so thank you. It's not a question of arguing, but there has to be clarity, because you know what? These doubts will fester. They will never allow you to get a glimpse of the reality. Never. That's where my position comes in, that I need to clarify this. That's why even in the Monday class, I had clarified that, where somebody said, is Shakti part of Shiva and Prakriti part of Purusha? All those doubts must not be there. The fundas, they say, fundamentals, there's a short form, fundas. They say the fundas of Vedanta have to be very strong. And this is following all, this is fundamentally information, this is knowledge. This is not highest knowledge even. अभी ये fundamental में ही problem हो रहा है तो आगे क्या होगा? इसीलिए I've spent time. That's why I'm explaining. Has everybody understood, or is there any doubt in this? Also, you have to understand correctly also, huh? That's what.
Understanding is there, Jaji, but every time remembering that is a problem. That's
why you stay with the class. Yeah. Agreed. That's okay.
At least for this hour, we remember that.
Exactly. And that's many people say that when we are in class, we understand and we think that we know, but then when we go out, we forget. And that's why we repeat the class every week.
Okay, thank you.
That is why the hammering is there. That is why the repetition is there, because it is not an easy science to understand. Don't take it lightly. Don't take Vedanta lightly. Don't. Don't. It is the ultimate truth. It will give you the ultimate happiness. Why should it be so easy? What was easy? Getting a degree was easy. Getting a job was easy. Giving birth to a child was easy. Nothing was easy. So why should this be easy? Shouldn't. It shouldn't. That's why it prompts you to think, and that it gives me great pleasure to think, honestly. And the minute the thought came to me this morning, very honestly, it's been a week since you asked the question, but this morning suddenly it came, wait a minute, intellectually there is a problem understanding. So intellectually, how do I, so I have to equate the waking state to the dream, and to equate, I need a dark theater in the waking state. And what is that dark theater? It is the ignorance. This is how I work. Okay, shall we move? 171 we did na. Sushupti Kale
Call mera door band kar de, please.
No, we didn't do.
We didn't do 171?
171.
171 we have to start?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with 171. I've actually already explained, but we'll do it. Sushupti Kale Manasi Praline Naivasti Kinchit Sakala प्रसिद्धेः अतो मनकल्पितेव पुंसः संसार एतस्य न वस्तुतोऽस्ति. This is what it says. In deep sleep, the mind is reduced to its causal state, and nothing perceivable exists, as is proved by the universal experience of all people. Therefore, man's world of change is just the creation of his own mind and has no objective reality. Underline this. So the reality of the world is there only when the mind is awake. Only when the mind is awake, there is a reality to the world. So Sushupti Kale Manase Praline, Sushupti Kale, in the time of Sushupti deep sleep, Manasa Pralina, Prakarshena Lina. Prakarsh means it's very well goes back into its causal state. It is said that the mind goes into the Vasana level, which is very, absolutely very, very subtle, which we don't even know. So it goes back into that, or some Upanishad will say it goes back into the heart, is the same thing. So and Naivasti Kinchit Sakala Prasiddhe, like this is, everybody knows this, that in deep sleep, there is no world then. You don't know if you're rich or poor, you're man or woman, you're sleeping in your own room or some other hotel room, your bed or somebody else's bed. Nothing, what worries you have during the daytime, what happinesses you may have had during the daytime. Do you know anything in deep sleep? Nothing, because the mind is not there. The mind is not there. And then ataha manakalpiteva punsaha. Ataha, therefore, this world that you see also is kalpita, imagined by the mind. And that's why I told you that when your mind is happy, how does the world appear to you? Doesn't it appear happy, happy, happy? Suppose if I got a new grandchild, then everything, I'm like, yeah, kind of thing, right? And and then if I can't see my grandchild on this weekend, then what? Then everything is not good. Then I'm pouting, right? Then nothing is good if I can't see. It's the mind. It's the mind. Mind plays havoc. That's what the mind. That's why the mind has to be controlled. Why are they telling us tame the mind? Tame the mind. Because the mind runs in unimaginable. Man in Marathi it's a say. Man chinti te vairi na chinti. What your mind thinks, even your worst enemy doesn't think. Your own mind will project such horrible things that your worst enemy will not even think of that. Your own mind. That's why now it is going to come. Mind alone is the cause of bondage. Mind alone is the cause of it. Therefore, sansar etasya na vastutah asti. Vastutah is object. There is no reality. And real here definition is that which does not change in the 3 periods of time. The world, hasn't it changed? Hasn't our world changed since pre-COVID days? How much has the world changed? So it can't be real. It can't be real. Because it has changed. That at least basic, that real definition of real, please keep it in mind. That which does not change in the 3 periods of time, can we say that the world, waking world, in dream sleep only it is not existing. Now think about pre-COVID and now during COVID and post-COVID. Post-COVID again it will change. And then maybe, God forbid, something else might come. So world is changing. So it has no real reality. Let me put it that. No real, it is real in the present moment. That's it. There's no real reality. Okay? वायुना नियते मेघः पुनस्तेनैव नीयते मनसा कल्प्यते बन्धः मोक्षस्तेनैव कल्प्यते. The wind gathers the clouds together and the wind itself scatters them. So too, the mind is responsible for bondage and also for liberation. Amrit Bindu Upanishad. This is also from the Upanishad. Bhagwan is saying, and then the next one he will explain. So here he says that just as the wind collects the clouds, right? When there is this thing, the wind can bring the clouds also to our place, or the other way also. The wind will take them away also. Vancouver today, the same thing happened. There was a huge wind, and then all of a sudden it started raining. So that, and then the wind stopped and the rain started. So when the wind was blowing, it brought all the clouds here, and then the wind stopped. And then the cloud, if the wind would have continued, they would have taken the clouds away somewhere. So same way, the same mind will take you to bondage and will take you to liberation. An extroverted mind will take you to bondage. An introverted mind will take you to liberation. An impure mind will take you to bondage. A pure mind will take you to liberation. That is why Bhagwan is now advising Arjun, develop that equanimity of mind, because you need to go towards liberation. That's why he's telling him in chapter 2. That's what we are studying. Okay. So, and Bhagavad Gita also, Bhagwan says in chapter 6 that the mind itself is your friend and the mind itself is your enemy. So when it takes you towards bondage, when it is extroverted, it is your enemy. We think that, oh, so nice, I can enjoy the world. But as per Vedanta, as for liberation, it is your enemy then. And the mind which is pure, the mind which is becoming introverted, is your friend. The mind is in between the intellect and the senses. Please understand, okay? Intellect is inside. Intellect can never go out. The senses are outside. The senses can never go inside. The mind has the capacity to go inside or outside. The mind is in the middle. If the mind is going under the control of the intellect, like you see on the cover of Bhagavad Gita, if the mind, the reins are in the hands of the charioteer, and the charioteer is the intellect. If the reins are held tight by the charioteer, by the intellect, then that mind is a pure mind. It will take you to liberation. But if they go loose, if the mind slips from the hands of the intellect and then runs with the horses, runs with the senses, the horses are the senses, and the senses cannot go inside, they will always go outside. So when the mind runs with the senses outside, it is taking you to bondage. We think, wow, great freedom. Now I'm 12 years old. Now I can do whatever. I can have the key to the house. And now I can go wherever. And 16, driving. I got a car, freedom. Let me go out and enjoy. No, not in Vedanta. Not in Vedanta. Okay. So now he's going to give the reasons, what it does. Dehadi sarva vishay parikalpya ragam badhnati tena purusham pashuvad gunena vairasyam atra vishavat suvidhaya paschat enam vimochayati tanmana eva bandhat. The mind causes man's attachment for the body and the sense objects. These attachments bind him like an animal that is bound by ropes. Thereafter, the same mind creates a distaste for the very same sense objects as though they were poison and liberates man from his bondage. So beautifully explained, Dehadi sarva vishaye parikalpya ragam, ragam attachment. So Dehadi Vishay, the body and then its object. So first of all, reality is given to the body. And then whatever the body needs is also real. It's wanted. Okay, I am the body. That is the ignorance. I think that is knowledge, but it is actually ignorance. So this attachment to the body is creating attachment to all the objects outside. Badnati tena purusham pashuvad gunena. This word guna in Sanskrit, this is what Gurudev is given, means guna is the attributes and guna is rope also. That's why Sanskrit, they say, is a very refined language. So these gunas, even in chapter 14, we studied that the gunas bind. That's why now Bhagwan will tell Arjun, Nistray Gunyo Bhava Arjuna. Rise above the gunas. So these gunas, they bind like a rope. Like you bind a rope, you tie a rope around the animal's neck and you tie him to a pole so that he doesn't go here and there or run away. That way, these gunas, they bind this punsa, purusham, punsa. This is not the supreme purusha, please. This is man, and it includes women also. So no gender bias. It is purusha and stri. It binds us. It binds us. The reality that we give the body, because of which we are giving reality to the world, and then I want this, I want that. It's making the mind extrovert. It is making the mind go outside, making the mind act, do actions. And those actions are then binding us. Why? They give us results, and to exhaust the results, we have to take birth again, because we cannot exhaust all the results in this life itself. That is how the bondage is. Don't think that anybody is physically tying us to the house or anywhere else. There is not a physical rope that you can see. But the mind is bound. Why? Because the mind says, I cannot live without this. I cannot live without that. My life is miserable. I'm miserable if I don't have this. I'm miserable if I don't have that. That is bondage. That is dependence. Right? What is bondage? You're depending. Addicts, right? They cannot live without cigarettes. They cannot live without drugs. They cannot live without painkillers. You're dependent on that. That is bondage. So the dependency, if you change it into independency, like you are not dependent, if this is there or this is not there, I remain the same. If you can do that, you're liberated. Liberated. There's freedom. There's freedom. Vairasya matra vishavat suvidhaya paschat. So this mind itself is the one. The intellect is always telling the mind that these objects are like poison. Intellect is always telling the correct thing. Intellect is in the place of conscience. So the conscience will always tell you the right thing. Okay? It is the mind who doesn't listen to the intellect, and it is running out because of attachment. So as soon as the mind realizes that, oh my God, this is poison, it turns inside and it becomes a means for liberation. Then it is your friend. When you tame the mind, how do you know you've tamed the mind? Whatever that is needed to be done, the mind does it at that time. Then the mind is your servant. Otherwise, you're a servant of the mind. Oh, sleep in. Who wants to go for a walk? It's okay if I'm late for class 5 minutes. What does it matter? It's the mind that is telling you. The intellect is saying, no, 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 you'll be late. Get up, get up. Intellect is telling you always the right things, but the mind is not listening because the mind is weak. It is impure. Impure mind is a weak mind. So that's why we harp on that purity of mind, because a pure mind is a very, very strong mind. It's a strong mind. The mind has to be very strong. Otherwise, it is very difficult to give up attachments, dependencies. It's difficult. It's not easy. Okay. Then vimochayati, visheshena mochayati, means it will liberate this person from all bondages. So when the mind comes to realize that these objects are nothing but poison, then it will listen to the intellect, it will merge with the intellect, and it will rise then above the intellect as well, because we need to go beyond the intellect as well. Okay? Clear? Both attachment and bondage are created by the mind, and that's why Bhagavad Gita has said, Bhagavan has said, it is your friend, it's your enemy. And Amrit Bindu Upanishad, this is from our most famous verses is there in Amrit Bindu Upanishad. It is the mind which causes bondage, and it is the mind itself which will liberate you. because there is no other instrument that we have. We cannot use any outside instrument. That's why action is not required for liberation, but action is required for purification of mind, and that's where the principle of karma yoga comes in. Okay. Tasmat manak no. Tasmat manak karanamasya jantoho bandhasya mokshasya cha vavidhane bandhasya hetur malinam rajo gunaihi mokshasya shuddham virajastamaskam. Therefore, the mind is the cause for both liberation as well as bondage. When it is blemished with effects of rajas, it causes bondage. When it is free from the rajas and tamas qualities, it paves the way for liberation. So rajas and tamas are impurities in the mind, and I have told you many times that sattva, rajas, tamas all will exist in all persons, including the realized masters, but the percentage of those can be controlled. So the sadhana, the effort that we have to do is to increase sattva. How do I increase sattva? Is reduce rajas and tamas. How do I reduce tamas and how do I go into rajas? We will explain on Sunday in the chapter 2. Then Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. So we will explain that. So here what he's saying is, when it is blemished with the effects of rajas, what are the effects of rajas? We have studied in chapter 4. Agitation. Rajas causes agitation. Rajas causes desires. Rajas causes attachment to outside objects. And that attachment is what makes the mind very fickle. Oh my God, I want that, I want that, I want that. And that's the blemish, that is the impurity. And that's why that impurity has to be reduced. If I have to reduce that rajas, I have to reduce my attachment to the outside objects. If I have to reduce attachment to something, I have to reduce the reality that I give to that object. That's why we give, how much am I attached to the $1 million that I won in my dream last night? How much attachment do I have to that? That's why always I tell you, have I spoken about it? You know, I would have started in the beginning only. 1 million I got, now Vancouver is getting a center. In Vancouver only, not in Surrey. 1 million. Am I talking about it? Because I know it is an illusion. But the waking world is, I think it is real. That's why Bhagavan told, it is also a dream. Don't go running after it. Don't go running after it. So when I stop that, rajas will reduce. Rajas will reduce. And as soon as rajas and tamas start reducing, tamas is attachment to, we have seen that in chapter 1. Tamas is attachment, Dhritarashtra, he was attached to the throne, he was attached to the crown. Attachment to inert objects. Then the idea of indulging in those inert objects. First attachment, then indulgence. If I can reduce this attachment, indulgence will reduce. And when I reduce rajas and tamas, automatically sattva has to increase, because the percentage of all three together has to be 100. That 100 doesn't change. So if there is 10% sattva and other 90% rajas tamas, the more I keep reducing this, 80, 70, 60, sattva is increasing. Na? There's no other fourth thing that will come there. So the more I increase sattva, then I become more and more qualified for moksha, for freedom. Okay, and that's why it's the mind. In the mind is nothing but the gunas. Mind is prakriti. Prakriti is gunas. So the mind is made up of this rajas, tamas, and sattva, sattvic aspects. So if you can reduce that, and that is the spiritual seeker's duty, to reduce rajas and tamas, then you will be qualified for moksha. Any questions?
Jayaji?
Yeah.
At one of the classes, you had said that even rajas binds, right?
Yeah.
So if we are trying to improve, like, rajas, but sattva also binds. So if you're trying to become more sattvic, then we still have to be quite careful, right?
No. What is it with sattva is, because sattva is of the nature of purity, and purity gives clarity. So the more sattva you develop, the more purity you develop, there'll be more and more clarity in the intellect. And when you remain in sattva for a long period of time, you go into what is known as Vishuddha sattva. From sattva, it comes in Hams Gita. And Bhagavan has himself said this in Vivekachudamani also. From sattva, you need to go into Vishuddha sattva. Now, how to go into Vishuddha sattva is to remain in sattva maximum time. That is the only way. How to reduce tamas and rajas? Yes, you reduce your attachment to inert objects, you're reducing tamas. The minute you reduce the reality given to the inert objects, then you will not want to indulge in those unreal objects as well. See, the reason I want to indulge is because I think it is real. I think this world is real. So I want to indulge, I want to enjoy. So that will reduce. That reduces, you enter sattva. Just stay there. Stay there. Sattva, to fall from sattva is very easy also, because what happens is when the person becomes more and more sattvic, then there's all these other rajasic people, it starts poking there. That's why we have to be very careful. I am so sattvic, but that person is so rajasic. So that's where you keep falling. So that has to be avoided. That is very important point also there. That even though that's what Arjun, he said, see, we see that in chapter 1, we saw it already. Arjun said, who are these evil-minded sons of Dhritarashtra have come to fight with me? Arjun was sattvic, but he had no right to say that they were evil-minded. That's the whole thing. That is the whole thing. They were evil-minded, but Arjun cannot say that. So as spiritual seekers, actually one of the Swamijis, he had given an interview to, she also was a brahmacharini. He said what should I say, our prarabdha is that there are people who criticize us, but we have to still like them. We cannot say that they are wrong. That is what happens in sattva. That we have to be very careful. That's why Bhagavan didn't like that Arjun said that they are evil-minded. Bhagavan didn't like it. Bhagavan never, would never do that, right? So that's where we have to be very careful. So to stay in sattva is also not easy, because this is where we fall, because we come to know there is a difference between, that difference becomes very highlighted. When you increase sattva, the difference between rajas and, because you're also rajasic, the other person is also rajasic, say, there's no difference. How will you know? You don't know. Everybody's indulging. What is wrong in that? So there is the difference. But when you want to withdraw and the other person wants to indulge, then you come to know, what is this? Why is that? So then you start coming to know. And then when you say it, so that's why whatever is in your mind, you need to keep in your mind. That's why they give the example of Shivji. He kept the poison in his throat. He didn't put it in his stomach and he didn't spit it out. And that is what the spiritual seeker has to do. Can't talk, he cannot tell. Spiritual seeker cannot go to sea and say, look at that bee, so rajasic. We studied chapter 14. Don't you think that he can't do that? And then swallow it and then hate bee, that also we cannot do, because we have to know that it's the gunas that are acting up, that person also is the supreme reality. That's where the difficulty comes.
Is that the purification of mind?
Yeah, sattvic mind is a pure mind. So the more sattva you develop,
and you say that,
and don't repeat. Keep all the poison should be kept in the throat. Don't swallow it and don't spit it out. Shivji.
Yeah.
Learn from Shivji. Okay.
Jayaji,
Yes.
When we want to reduce the rajas and the tamas, and we want to increase the sattva, then but like the everyday things of like eating and staying alive, like in that sense, just so that we can go through the higher things, that how do you control that? Because
eating and all, whatever is needed for the body does not even come under this. But the food, you can make it sattvic, na? What you eat, you can make sattvic, right? But eating is necessary for the body, so you must eat. But now you're overeating. That is not sattvic then. Or you're eating, you can either have a fresh fruit juice, or you can have a pop, or you can have alcohol.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic.
Right.
That you can control, na? That you can choose.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, vegetarian, I'm such a vegetarian, that person is eating non-veg. What? Fall, fall, fall. Om swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini desho yam kshobarahita brahmana santu nirbhayaha om sarvesham swasti bhavatu sarvesham shantir bhavatu sarvesham purnam bhavatu sarvesham mangalam bhavatu sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayaha सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते ओम शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम. All right, Hari Om everybody.